The stars of the Sol system had remained undisturbed for millions of years until Commander Veltar decided to change that. His massive ship, the Nexus Dawn emerged from hyperspace like a dark metal whale breaking through cosmic waves. The Galactic Confederation had sent him on what should have been the easiest mission of his career: catalog another primitive species and move on to more important duties. Veltar stretched his 6 arms and clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. The primitive humans of the third planet had only recently developed basic space travel. Their crude ships barely managed to reach their own moon. This would be over quickly, and he could return to civilization with another species added to the Confederation's records. His scanning officer, a nervous creature with too many eyes, looked up from his console. "Commander, we are detecting multiple energy signatures from the human vessels. How many ships could they possibly have?" Veltar laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "These primitives still use chemical rockets for most of their space travel." That was when Captain Lee Minho proved him wrong. The human ship appeared on their sensors like a ghost materializing from nothing. One moment, empty space. The next, a sleek destroyer bearing the name Soul's Pride hung in the void between them and Earth. Veltar had to admit the humans had built something beautiful. The ship looked deadly and elegant at the same time, like a sword made of starlight and steel. The communication came through in broken but understandable galactic standard. The human voice was calm, professional, and completely unafraid. "Unknown vessel, you have violated Terran space. State your intentions or prepare to be fired upon." Veltar's mandibles clicked in amusement. These humans thought their tiny ship could threaten the mighty Nexus Dawn star. His vessel was 10 times larger and carried weapons that could crack planets. He decided to have some fun before ending this quickly. "Primitive species," he transmitted back, "you will submit to Confederation authority for processing. Your planet will be catalogued and your people will be relocated to appropriate reserve worlds." The response came not in words, but in brilliant blue plasma fire that struck his shields with surprising force. Captain Lee Minho stood calmly on his bridge as his ship fired its opening salvo. Around him, his crew worked with smooth efficiency that spoke of years of training and discipline. These were not desperate fighters throwing themselves at impossible odds. These were professionals doing their job. "Tactical, target their engines," Minho ordered, his voice never changing tone. "Communications, get me Major Park Jizu of the Marines." Lieutenant Kim Tae-hyung at the tactical station reported with the same calm professionalism as his captain. "Sir, they are firing some kind of energy weapon. Our shields are holding but taking heavy damage." Evasive maneuvers. Launch fighters. 3 more human ships dropped out of hyperspace around the Nexus Dawn appearing with perfect coordination. Veltar realized with growing alarm that the humans had not stumbled into this encounter. They had planned it. Somehow, they had detected his approach and prepared a response. The human fighter craft launched from their ships like angry hornets leaving a disturbed nest. Veltar watched in growing horror as the small human pilots performed maneuvers that should have turned them into paste inside their cockpits. The gravitational forces alone should have killed them instantly. Instead, they flew their fighters like extensions of their own bodies, weaving through his defensive fire and striking at weak points in his ship's armor. "How are they surviving those accelerations?" his tactical officer gasped. "I do not know," Veltar replied, but privately he was beginning to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. The real nightmare began when the human Marines started their boarding action. Major Park Jizu led his troops through the breach they had cut in the Nexus Dawn's hull like he had done it 1,000 times before. The Marines moved through the alien corridors with tactical precision that made Veltar's own security forces look like children playing war games. These humans did not fight with the desperate fury of a cornered animal. They fought with the cold efficiency of machines built for killing. They covered each other's movements, communicated in short professional phrases, and eliminated his crew members with minimal wasted effort. What terrified Veltar most was not their violence, but their control. They could have killed everyone aboard his ship within minutes, but they chose to take prisoners instead. Major Park's voice crackled through the ship's communication system as his Marines secured another section. "Captain, these things bleed purple but they go down easy. Recommend we take prisoners for intelligence purposes." Veltar had seen enough. He ordered an immediate retreat, abandoning nearly half his crew to the humans rather than face complete annihilation. As his damaged ship limped away from the Sol system, he tried to process what had just happened to the mighty Galactic Confederation's forces. His final report to Confederation Command was brief and terrifying. He recommended that all Confederation forces avoid human space entirely. These beings fought like the legendary death cults of Proxima, ancient warriors who preferred to die fighting rather than surrender. But the humans had shown something even more dangerous than berserker fury. They had shown discipline. As his ship fled towards safe space, Veltar overheard a human communication that would haunt his nightmares for the rest of his life. Captain Lee Minho was speaking to his crew with the same calm professionalism he had shown throughout the battle. Good work today, Marines. Nothing the regulars could not handle. The word hit Veltar like a physical blow. Regulars. These humans, who had just destroyed a Confederation patrol ship and captured half its crew, considered themselves regular troops. Not elite warriors. Not special forces. Just ordinary soldiers doing an ordinary job. If these were the regulars, what did the humans consider their elite forces? Veltar decided he never wanted to find out. Agent Kixera floated in the cold darkness beyond Pluto, her cloaked observation ship hidden among the ice and rock of the outer solar system. For 3 months, she had been listening to human military communications, trying to understand what had happened to Commander Veltar and his crew. What she discovered made her wish she had never taken this assignment. The small spy ship was cramped and lonely, but it kept her safe from human detection while she did her work. Her job was simple: listen to everything the humans said to each other and figure out how dangerous they really were. The answer, she was learning, was more terrifying than anyone back at Confederation headquarters could imagine. Kixera had 8 different listening devices pointed at Earth, each one designed to intercept different types of human communication. Military channels, government broadcasts, civilian networks, she captured it all and fed it through her translation computers. The humans talked constantly, and they seemed to have no idea that anyone was listening to their conversations. Her handler back on the Confederation homeworld expected regular reports, so she sent her findings through quantum burst transmissions that traveled faster than light. Each report painted a darker picture of human military capability than the last. Analysis shows their military structure is far more complex than initial contact suggested, she reported during her weekly check-in. The forces that engaged Commander Veltar represent only a small fraction of human military power. The recording she had collected told a story that made her scales crawl with fear. What humans casually called their regular forces, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, were apparently just the beginning of their military organization. These were the same troops that had nearly destroyed a Confederation patrol ship, and the humans considered them basic, standard forces. But there was something else. Something that the humans talked about in hushed, respectful tones even among their own soldiers. They called it special forces. Kixera played back one conversation she had intercepted between human military officers. The voices belonged to high-ranking commanders discussing the recent alien encounter. The 82nd Airborne did well in the alien encounter, said the first voice, belonging to someone the humans called a general. But Command wants to know if we need to activate the Rangers for cleanup operations. The second voice laughed, and the sound made Kixera's blood turn cold. Rangers? For that single patrol ship? We have not even called in the SEALs yet. Command must think those aliens are coming back with friends. Kixera rewound the recording and listened again. Rangers. SEALs. Her translation computer could not make sense of these terms. They seemed to be names for different types of human warriors, but warriors that were somehow different from the regular forces that had already proven so deadly. Another recording was even more disturbing. This conversation took place between human officers discussing security around their military bases after the alien encounter. Colonel Yoon Hanna wants to know if the special forces are needed for the perimeter sweep, reported one officer. Tell her the Green Berets are standing by if needed, but Delta thinks it is overkill for base security, came the reply. Green Berets. Delta Force. More names that her computer could not translate properly. Each term seemed to represent some kind of elite warrior class that existed above and beyond the regular human military. The way regular soldiers spoke about these units was different from how they talked about normal military branches. There was respect in their voices, but also something that might have been fear. Kixera spent days trying to understand the structure of human special forces. From what she could piece together from intercepted communications, these were warriors selected from among the best of the regular forces and then trained to an even higher standard. The humans had multiple different special forces units, each one apparently designed for different types of missions. The SEALs seemed to specialize in operations involving water and ships. The Rangers appeared to be elite infantry soldiers who could be deployed anywhere quickly. The Green Berets worked with local populations and specialized in unconventional warfare. Delta Force was mentioned so rarely and in such quiet tones that she could barely gather any information about them at all. What terrified her most was how casually the humans discussed deploying these elite forces. They talked about calling in special forces the same way someone might talk about calling for backup or requesting additional supplies. It was routine for them, just another tool in their military toolkit. She intercepted a conversation between two Marine officers that painted the picture clearly. "Do you think Command will send in special forces for the next alien contact?" asked one. "Probably not," replied the other. "The regulars handled the last encounter just fine. Special forces are for when things get really complicated." Really complicated. The forces that had crushed Commander Veltar's ship and captured his crew were what humans considered adequate for simple problems. Special forces were reserved for difficult situations. Kixera tried to imagine what kind of military challenge would require the humans to deploy their elite warriors. If their regular forces could destroy Confederation ships, what enemy would be dangerous enough to require Special Forces intervention? Her final intelligence report to Confederation headquarters was longer and more detailed than usual, but her conclusion was simple and chilling. The humans possessed military capabilities that went far beyond what they had demonstrated during first contact. Their regular forces, which had already proven devastatingly effective, were apparently just the foundation of a much larger and more sophisticated military organization. "If their basic military units demonstrate such lethality," she wrote in her report, "we cannot comprehend what their elite forces might be capable of. Recommend immediate policy revision regarding human contact. The humans possess warriors beyond their regulars, and we have no way to measure their true military potential." The report was classified at the highest levels and distributed to all Confederation species with a simple warning that would change galactic politics forever: the humans have warriors beyond their regulars. Nobody wanted to find out what those warriors could do. Admiral Thexnal had spent 40 years commanding Confederation fleets, and he considered himself an expert on military strategy. When the intelligence reports about human special forces reached his desk, he decided the galaxy needed real information instead of frightened rumors. The plan he developed was elegant in its simplicity: capture some humans, observe their military response, and gather concrete data about their capabilities. Titan Research Station orbited Saturn like a small metal moon, far enough from Earth to make it an ideal target. 30 human researchers worked there, studying the gas giant's atmosphere and conducting experiments that the Confederation found mildly interesting. More importantly, the station was isolated enough that any human military response would be focused and measurable. Thex now brought 3 heavy cruisers for the operation, more than enough firepower to handle whatever the humans might send. His plan was careful and methodical. Capture the station quickly, secure the humans safely, and then wait to see what kind of rescue force Earth would dispatch. When he had gathered enough intelligence about human military tactics and capabilities, he would release the prisoners and withdraw with valuable information. The capture operation went exactly as planned. His assault troops took the research station in less than 30 minutes, and the human researchers surrendered without resistance. They were scientists, not soldiers, and they had no weapons beyond emergency flares and maintenance tools. Thex now ordered his troops to treat the prisoners well and settled in to wait for the human response. He expected the rescue attempt to come within hours, but he was surprised by how quickly Earth reacted. 6 hours after the capture, his sensors detected a human ship dropping out of hyperspace near Saturn's orbit. The vessel was smaller than his cruisers but moved with the deadly grace he had learned to associate with human military design. The communication came through on standard military frequencies, professional and direct. "This is Major Choi Sungmin, 3rd Marine Expeditionary Unit, aboard the UES Busan Star. You have 30 seconds to release our people before we board your vessels." Thex now activated his external cameras to watch the human response unfold. This was exactly what he had hoped for: a chance to observe human Marines in action under controlled conditions. He had read the reports from Commander Veltar's encounter, but seeing was different from hearing second-hand accounts. The Marines launched from their ship in small assault craft that moved like metal insects swarming toward his fleet. Thex now watched with professional interest as they executed their attack. These humans fought with coordination that reminded him of the best Confederation special units, but there was something different about their approach. They were aggressive without being reckless, precise without being slow. Major Choi's Marines cut through his ship's hull and began their assault on the interior. Thex now observed through security cameras as the humans moved through his corridors with mechanical precision. They covered each other perfectly, communicated in short efficient phrases, and eliminated his security teams with controlled brutality. These were the same regular forces that had destroyed Commander Veltar's patrol ship, and Thex now could see why they had been so effective. The Marines fought like a machine designed specifically for war, each soldier a perfectly functioning part of a larger weapon system. For 2 hours, the battle continued as the Marines gradually wore down his defenses. Thex now began to think he had gathered enough intelligence when his tactical officer reported something unexpected. "Admiral, we are detecting new human contacts. Smaller craft approaching from different vectors." The communication that followed changed everything Thex now thought he understood about human military organization. "Marine units, this is Lieutenant Commander Song Hyojin, Team 7. We are taking point." Thex now watched his security cameras as the new arrivals entered his ships. Where the Marines had advanced with overwhelming force and firepower, these new humans moved like ghosts. They appeared in corridors that should have been empty, struck at systems he had not known were vulnerable, and eliminated his best troops without making a sound. Lieutenant Commander Song and her team moved through his fleet like death itself had taken human form. They were not just more skilled than the Marines, they were fundamentally different. The Marines fought like professional soldiers executing a military operation. These new humans, who called themselves SEALs, fought like predators hunting prey. They struck at his command centers, disabled his weapon systems, and captured key positions with surgical precision. Where the Marines had needed 2 hours to fight through his defenses, the SEALs accomplished their objectives in minutes. The most terrifying part was how casually the humans had made this transition. One moment, regular Marines were conducting a standard assault. The next moment, elite special forces had taken control of the situation. It was routine for them, just another tool in their military toolkit. Within 2 hours of the SEAL's arrival, Lieutenant Commander Song Hyojin stood on his bridge. She had somehow bypassed every security system, neutralized every guard, and walked into his command center as if she owned it. Her uniform was clean, her breathing was steady, and she spoke with the same calm professionalism he had heard from all human military personnel. "Admiral," she said calmly, "your fleet is disabled. Your troops are secured. You will release our researchers and withdraw from Terran space." Thex now looked around his bridge and realized she was right. His weapons were offline, his communications were jammed, and his crew was either unconscious or under guard by invisible human soldiers. The SEALs had dismantled his entire fleet without him even understanding how they had done it. As his ships limped away from Saturn, Thex now tried to process what had just happened. The humans had escalated from regular forces to special operations as if it were the most natural thing in the world. They had warriors beyond their regulars, and those warriors were more dangerous than anything the galaxy had ever seen. His report to Confederation High Command was brief and urgent. "Human special forces are not mythical. Recommend immediate ceasefire protocols." He never wanted to see what other surprises the humans might have waiting. The story of human warriors spread through the galaxy faster than light itself, carried by terrified survivors and amazed witnesses who could barely believe what they had seen. Every space station, every trade route, every diplomatic meeting became a place where beings gathered to share impossible tales about the mysterious human special forces. Captain Rextus had been hauling cargo through the Outer Rim for 20 years, and he thought he had seen everything the galaxy could offer. Pirates, asteroid storms, engine failures, all part of the job for a Zephyrian trader. But what happened near Kepler 442b changed his understanding of what was possible in the universe. His convoy of 6 cargo ships had been ambushed by raiders from the Crimson Nebula, a notorious pirate organization with over 200 fighters and enough firepower to crack a small moon. Rextus had sent out a distress signal knowing it was hopeless. No military force could arrive in time to save them, and even if help came, what could anyone do against such overwhelming numbers? The human ship appeared without warning, dropping out of hyperspace like a silver ghost. It was smaller than any of the pirate vessels, and Rextus assumed the humans had made a terrible mistake by responding to his distress call. Then the communication came through, calm and professional. "This is Captain Kim Junho, United States Army Special Forces. We have your convoy on sensors and are moving to assist." What happened next would haunt Rextus's dreams for the rest of his life. 12 human soldiers and small insertion craft launched from their ship and flew directly into the middle of the pirate fleet. Rextus watched through his cargo hold's viewports as the humans, who called themselves Green Berets, systematically destroyed 200 raiders without losing a single ship from the convoy. They did not fight like normal soldiers. They moved through space like they were dancing, their small craft weaving between pirate ships while somehow avoiding every weapon fired at them. One by one, pirate vessels went dark as the humans disabled them with surgical precision. Within an hour, the entire raider fleet was either destroyed or fleeing into deep space. When Rextus tried to thank the humans, Captain Kim simply replied, "Just doing our job, sir." Safe travels. Now, months later, Rextus told the story to anyone who would listen in the bars and trading posts of Kepler 442b. His voice always dropped to a whisper when he reached the important part. They called themselves Green Berets. 12 of them eliminated 200 raiders without losing a single trader. I watched it happen, and I still do not understand how. The story grew with each telling, but Rextus always insisted on the same details. 12 humans. 200 pirates. Not one civilian casualty. Ambassador Lyranis of the Thakkaran Republic had a different story, but it was just as impossible to believe. Her people's colony on Trappist-1E had been under siege by rebel forces for 6 weeks. The colonists were running out of food, water, and ammunition while enemy forces tightened their grip around the settlement. The colonial government had sent desperate messages to anyone who might help, but the nearest Thakkaran military forces were months away. Then, without warning or explanation, a small human ship landed at the colony's spaceport in the middle of the night. Our colony on Trappist-1E was under siege for weeks. Ambassador Lyranis would tell other diplomats at Galactic Council meetings. Then these humans arrived, Force Reckon, they called themselves. The enemy was gone by morning. We never even saw them fight. The human commander, a quiet professional named Major Song Minji, had simply walked into the colony's command center and asked for tactical information about enemy positions. 12 hours later, he reported that the siege was over and his team was ready for extraction. The colonists found no enemy bodies, no destroyed equipment, no evidence of battle at all. The rebel forces had simply vanished as if they had never existed. When the colonists asked Major Song what had happened, he replied, "Problem solved. You should not have any more trouble from those particular insurgents." The humans left as quietly as they had arrived, and Ambassador Lyranis never learned exactly what Force Reckon had done to end the siege. She only knew that 12 human soldiers had accomplished in one night what an entire Thakkaran battle group might not have been able to do in months of fighting. On the crystalline homeworld of the Vexani, Defense Minister Kuleth stood before the Planetary Assembly trying to explain intelligence reports that seemed to come from science fiction rather than military briefings. The chamber's crystal walls amplified his voice as he addressed the assembled leaders. Intelligence confirms multiple human military castes exist beyond their regulars, he announced, his forearms gesturing to holographic displays showing human unit designations. Rangers, Delta Force, Navy SEALs, each name carries whispers of impossible capabilities across 3-star systems. The names had become legend among military professionals throughout the galaxy. Rangers were supposedly elite infantry who could appear anywhere in the galaxy within hours. Delta Force was so secretive that some intelligence analysts doubted they actually existed. Navy SEALs were said to be amphibious warriors who could fight equally well in space, on land, or underwater. Meanwhile, on Earth, Colonel Park Sun-woo of the 75th Ranger Regiment sat in his office at Fort Benning, reviewing routine training schedules and personnel reports. He had no idea that his unit's designation had become synonymous with supernatural warfare across 3-star systems. Sergeant First Class Lee Donghae knocked on his office door and entered with a stack of intelligence briefings. "Sir, Intelligence wants us to review the Titan Station after-action report. Apparently, the aliens are calling our Marines Death Warriors now." Colonel Park looked up from his paperwork with mild interest. "Death Warriors? That seems a bit dramatic. What about the SEALs who actually resolved the situation?" "Shadow killers, sir. The aliens think they can appear and disappear at will." Colonel Park shook his head and returned to his training schedules. "What do they call us Rangers?" Sergeant Lee consulted his briefing notes. "According to intercepted alien communications, we are the ones who come before the end." "Well," Colonel Park replied with a slight smile, "at least they take us seriously." The legend continued to grow with each passing day as regular human forces went about their normal duties, completely unaware they had become the stuff of galactic nightmares and bedtime stories told to frighten alien children across a dozen worlds. 6 months had passed since the first human ship had destroyed a Confederation patrol vessel, and the galaxy had not been the same since. Stories of human warriors spread through every star system, growing more terrifying with each telling. Now, the most important diplomatic mission in galactic history was approaching Earth's moon, carrying representatives who hoped to prevent a war they knew they could not win. Ambassador Prime Yoldena stood on the bridge of the diplomatic vessel Peaceful Accord watching Earth's moon grow larger through the viewscreen. She had spent weeks preparing for this meeting, studying every available piece of intelligence about human military capabilities. What she had learned made her wish the Confederation had never entered human space at all. The humans had built a space station orbiting their moon, and it was there that first contact negotiations would take place. Luna Station looked peaceful enough from a distance, but Yaldena knew better than to trust appearances when dealing with humans. Their military bases looked like research facilities, and their research facilities could apparently produce weapons that made Confederation technology seem primitive. Her ship approached the station slowly, broadcasting peace signals on every frequency they could manage. The last thing Yaldena wanted was to give the humans any reason to think this was an attack. She had read the reports about what happened to ships that threatened human territory, and she had no desire to experience human military effectiveness firsthand. The docking procedure went smoothly, and Yaldena found herself walking through the station's corridors toward the meeting room where human representatives waited. Her bodyguards flanked her nervously, but she knew they would be useless if the humans decided to turn hostile. The galaxy's most elite warriors had already proven ineffective against regular human forces. Secretary of Defense General Kim Namjoon waited in the conference room, and Yaldena felt her heart skip when she saw his uniform. Behind him stood an honor guard of Marines, their dress uniforms crisp and professional. These were the same forces that had devastated Confederation fleets, the warriors that other species now called Death Warriors in whispered conversations. General Kim stepped forward with a formal smile. "Welcome to Terran Space, Ambassador. We hope this meeting will establish peaceful relations between our peoples." Yaldena's 4 eyes widened in terror as she recognized the Marine insignia. She had studied human military symbols extensively, and she knew she was looking at the uniforms worn by some of the most dangerous soldiers in the galaxy. Her diplomatic training abandoned her, and she spoke with desperate urgency. "Honored General, we come seeking immediate alliance and offering tribute for your merciful consideration." General Kim exchanged confused glances with Admiral Yo Jimin, Chief of Naval Operations, who had joined the meeting to represent human space forces. The two humans seemed genuinely puzzled by her response, which only made Yaldena more nervous. "Ambassador, I think there has been a misunderstanding," General Kim said carefully. "We are interested in trade agreements and mutual defense pacts, not tribute. The Confederation has technology and resources that could benefit both our peoples." Yaldena could not believe what she was hearing. The humans were offering to negotiate as equals when they could simply demand whatever they wanted. Either this was some kind of elaborate psychological warfare, or the humans did not understand their own power. "Please," she continued desperately, "we understand the power of your special forces. The galaxy speaks in whispers of your Rangers, your SEALs, your Delta Warriors. We offer unrestricted access to 17 systems in exchange for peace." Admiral Yo leaned forward, her expression growing more confused. "Ambassador, those are just some of our special operations units. You have primarily encountered our regular forces during previous contact situations." The alien delegation's translator circuit struggled to process this statement. Several of her assistants began checking their equipment, certain that something had malfunctioned. The words did not make sense in any context they could understand. "Regular forces." Yaldena's voice became barely audible. "Standard military," confirmed General Kim patiently. "Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. Our regular troops handle most situations that arise. Special operations are deployed for specialized missions that require particular expertise." "Then your true military might?" Yaldena could not finish the question. General Kim paused thoughtfully, as if considering how much to reveal. "Well, you have not met our strategic command, our full fleet capabilities, or our actual special forces divisions. What you have encountered during previous incidents are essentially our local defense units and some of our more routine special operations teams." The room spun around Yaldena as the implications hit her. The forces that had terrorized the galaxy, the warriors that had become the subject of frightened legends across dozens of worlds, were routine operations for the humans. Their local defense forces had defeated Confederation military units, and their routine special operations had become mythical figures of supernatural warfare. If these were their local defenders and routine specialists, what could their actual military accomplish? Yaldena fainted. 3 hours later, after medical attention and several glasses of human water, the negotiations resumed. The Confederation had agreed to the most favorable terms in human diplomatic history. Free passage through Confederation space for human ships, unlimited technology sharing agreements, and a mutual defense pact that essentially made humanity the unofficial military leaders of their entire sector. The humans seemed almost embarrassed by how much the Confederation was willing to offer for a simple peace treaty. General Kim had to repeatedly assure Yaldena that Earth had no intention of conquering other worlds or demanding tribute from alien species. As the diplomatic vessel prepared to depart Luna Station, General Kim walked Admiral Yo to the observation deck. They watched the alien ship accelerate toward the jump point that would carry news of the treaty back to Confederation space. Should we tell them about the Space Force? General Kim asked casually. Admiral Yo considered the question while watching the diplomatic vessel disappear into hyperspace. Let us see how they handle learning about the Army first. I think they have had enough surprises for one day. On the other side of Lunar Station, Master Sergeant Han Jisung of Delta Force finished reviewing training schedules for the week. His unit was preparing for routine exercises that would help maintain their operational readiness. He had no idea that bedtime stories across the galaxy now featured monsters called human special forces that came in the night to punish the wicked. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity's regulars. They would never need to meet their true elites.